Hey, gang, breaking news update with GATA's Bill Murphy. Bill Murphy has some stunning new revelations to share regarding J.P. Morgan's alleged silver manipulation. Bill, thanks for joining us.
Well, good to be here, Sean.
Now, Bill, before I let you run with the ball here, you've stated that you have an informed source that shared with you some really vital information. Bill, take it from there.
The fellow who I spoke to I've known for years, one of the wealthier men in all of Europe. He's got a lot of connections, and he doesn't talk to me too much about, the actual market action and stuff, but we talked a little bit ago, and he said that the reason that in 2011 that silver ran up from in January to through April was because Morgan was forced to stop selling for some reason. He doesn't know why, but whether they were going through some kind of investigation or something, but they pulled back, and that's when the price shot up to 49.50. And then, of course, it collapsed, and they came back in. He said May, but the market started down in either that very end of April or early May. He actually said June, but either they had someone else do it for them. But that's when they came back in, and that's why the market collapsed again. Now, he also said that part of this J.P. Morgan's big loss on their books was $2 billion up to $6 billion, probably going to $9 billion or a lot more, has something to do with silver. He said they still are short the market in a heavy way, and they're having a tough time extricating themselves to get out of it. He didn't know exactly what that was. It could have been due to physical supply issues. It could be maybe stuff they borrowed from the ETF, in which they're the custodian of SLV, the big silver ETF. He didn't know, but he said they still have a big problem with silver getting out of it, even though they're there all the time. And he also said that these sources he's known the people for years, and he said that actually, by the way, they saw something in writing on this. He wasn't just talking about it, and he couldn't get into any further detail, but he saw something in some kind of document that corroborates what he was saying. But he said July, this was actually a couple of weeks ago when I first talked to him, would be tough for the gold and silver markets, but starting in August, they would start to go nuts, and they would stay nuts for a long time. I mean, they'll trade up and down, of course, but big moves are coming starting in August. And he said this a while back, and of course, July, every time gold and silver rally, the gold cartel is there and stops it cold.
Now, just to clarify, Bill, now your source is saying that big moves are coming this August?
Yes.
Now, do you think that...
Starting in August.
Starting in August, do you think that has something to do with the CFTC's findings on silver manipulation, which are due in the next 30 to 60 days?
I have a great deal of respect for Bart Chilton, one of their commissioners, and I've met him twice and communicate with him here and there. He never tells me anything he can't, but he told me, I don't know, 2-3 months ago that we should be hearing something in 3 or 4 months, either way. So that would put it in August.
Now, for folks who are frustrated that silver has been putzing around down here below 30 for quite some time, can you help people understand why it's nothing less than an opportunity? Because this is subsidized pricing right now thanks to the cartel. Yes,
it is, and I think you have it nailed. I mean, basically, they've kept it at artificially low prices. If you look at a chart, you'll see it's just going sideways, really building a huge base for some time. And we believe when it's an unnatural position, and the reason prices here is because of this manipulation by Morgan. And when this thing goes, it's going to do what it did last time, except keep on going, and they'll get up to 50 and go from there. The smartest guy I know, or one of them, I should say, is Eric Sprott, and he's a stickler for fundamentals and details and supply-demand stuff, and he believes silver is going to go well over $100, and I got my money on him.
Yeah, and let me ask you this. Here's some news that was breaking today, too, all over the Internet. 48 tons of silver bars recovered from a World War II shipwreck being reported today. Now, the reason I bring that up, Bill, is I want you to take this for me and run with it, because that's 70 years underwater, Bill. Silver, 70 years under the water, and guess what? It's still money, worth a boatload of cash at today's prices. Now,
I hadn't heard this. Where do they find it?
Let's see.
That's a lot of silver.
It is a lot of silver. Let me read you this. The Tampa, Florida...
Seems like too much. It'll sink the boat.
Well, it's only about 1.4 million ounces, which would just barely put a dent in what the COMEX has and help the COMEX out a little bit. But it says, quote, the Tampa, Florida-based Odyssey Marine Exploration, Inc. announced Wednesday that it had recovered 48 tons of silver bullion from the SS Garsopa, a sunken British cargo ship in 3 miles of water off the coast of Ireland. And, they've got a deal worked out with the UK government there to recover it, and they get to keep 80% of the proceeds. 20% of the proceeds go back to the UK government.
Interesting. Well, thanks for letting me know. It's the first I'd heard of it.
Yeah, but the bottom line there, isn't that fascinating? What do you think that crates full of fiat dollars at the bottom of the sea would be worth today compared to that silver?
Well, that's a good point. I'll second what you have to say on that one.
So, Bill, just a quick breaking news update here. But before I let you go, let's circle back to LIBOR, the problems with J.P. Morgan, the systematic criminality with banking in general. We've got HSBC with all measure of criminality being public now. What's your take on what we're seeing in terms of the derivatives exposure and the problems of these big banks, including J.P. Morgan?
Well, first of all, Sean, I mean, all of a sudden, GATA doesn't look like such a bunch of conspiracy nuts because people are realizing that that's what these markets are all about. I mean, on all our conspiracy is a rigging operation. And for the fact that this big LIBOR scandal could have had so many people involved in it and be kept quiet for so long, you could see how a tiny gold and silver market would be kept quiet too. But it is extremely obvious to anyone paying any attention about how these people operate in the gold and silver markets. They're being maybe more managed today than I've ever seen it during the whole time we've been involved in exposing it. And you never know what can happen behind the scenes. All of a sudden, they just can blow up when you're talking about derivatives. We don't know. We don't know about unallocated accounts. We don't know about these ETFs. We don't know about naked short positions. And this is great news for GATA because all of a sudden it's opening people's eyes that all these markets are rigged. I mean, our Treasury market is openly rigged. Now you're finding out this interest rate market's rigged. The plunge protection team is in there in the stock market all the time, and the gold cartel activity is ridiculous. I mean, what they do at certain times of the day over and over again has been well documented by us, and eventually it's going to lead to an explosion.
That it is. Well, Bill Murphy, any final words for our audience before we let you go?
Well, no, just they can follow GATA by going to GATA.org, get on our mailing list, and they can check out my website, Le Metropole Cafe, and sign up for a 2-week free trial and see if it is of interest.
Well, GATA's been leading the charge pretty much from day one on this thing, Bill, and all of the rest of us are standing in your shadow. You're a leader. So is Chris Powell over there at GATA, and I want to thank you for what you guys are doing. I also want to thank the Silver Doctors for all they're doing. This report came to me by way of them. So thanks to the Silver Doctors, thanks to GATA, and Bill, thanks to you for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Okay, all my best. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, Sean. Bye-bye.
Well, that's it, guys. Much more to come. New videos posting all week. Thanks for tuning in, and visit sgtreport.com for all the latest.